Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you. So this is on, right? You can, good. Turn it over to our Director of Learning Services, Sandy Kovach, for recognitions.
Thank you so much. I'm going to ask Katie Simpson to step up first. Katie is an 8th grader at the middle school named a National Promising Young Writer. And my understanding is Katie wants to be a writer. Very good. She was the only student in Wisconsin recognized for her entry in an annual writing contest sponsored by the National Council of Teachers of English. She was one of just 39 students nationwide to receive recognition in the 2014 Promising Young Writers program. The theme of the program this year was the best thing I ever read while growing up. They were asked to write about how another author's work had affected them, as well as to submit a sample of their own best writing. Congratulations, Katie. So can you talk to us? You had to submit 2 pieces. Can you tell us a little bit about what you wrote about?
So the first piece was the best thing I ever read while growing up. And I did that on a book that my grandma had given me a while ago. And then the other one was the best one, in which was the theme on like your best piece of writing, which could be like a poem, a short story, or a research paper, basically. And so I did that one on, like, it had a theme of things aren't always what they seem.
Mm-hmm. Very good. And you already have thoughts of being a writer in the future? Do you know what kind of writing you really prefer?
I might want to be a freelance writer and just like have my own schedule and write to different magazines.
Hopefully not having all those timelines, right?
Yeah.
That's good. And Katie, as I said, is an 8th grader, so she will be leaving when she's done because she has 8th grade fairly well this evening. So, but we do want to say congratulations. Any comments or questions?
Can I just ask her a question?
Sure.
What was the name of the book that your grandma gave you?
It was Winnie the Horse Gentler.
It was what?
Winnie the Horse Gentler.
Oh, I'm going to remember that because I'm a grandma. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Bruce?
You consider freelance writing now? I mean, you can start making money today. I mean, there's no need to wait. You might as well just get at it. So congratulations.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Katie, for your efforts and for making Hudson proud.
You're welcome.
Right.
Thank you. Next, we want to highlight Hudson Prairie students, the Math Masters of Minnesota competition. I think we've got quite a group out there. On Friday, April 25th, 19 fifth graders, Hudson Prairie students, loaded a bus and headed to Math Masters of Minnesota competition in Hammond, Wisconsin. Doesn't that seem a little strange? Minnesota competition in Hammond, Wisconsin. The first part of the competition is a 5-minute 75-problem fact round, and this consists of basic facts and more complex facts requiring students to be advanced in their understanding of math computation and order of operations. This is followed by 4 10-minute individual problem-solving rounds, and then they finish this 4-hour competition with 3 15-minute group problem-solving rounds. Woo! Try to say that 3 times. All right, so we'll let Ms. Prather and Mary Beth Elliott introduce and talk a little bit about how the competition went.
I just wanted to share with you, this is a small group of our 19 students who participated in Math Masters. Mary Beth Elliott, our GT teacher, had brought that to our school for our students to really grow in the area of mathematics. It fits with our GLOs of foundational content skills, our thinking skills, and really that collaboration with the life skills. I want to really thank the 4 parent volunteers who spent a lot of countless hours with these students preparing them for this competition. We have one of them with us. We have Mike Schmidt right up here. I have Andrew Cable, Kim Kelly, and Julie Johnson, who also spent a lot of hours with these students preparing them for this competition. And our students made us very proud. We have a lot of individual awards. We had 5 of our students receive individual awards in the individual fact round. 6 of our students had ribbons and medals for placing in the individual problem solving, and one of our teams came back with our first place in the team team competition, and we had another 4th place in the team competition for that problem-solving piece. So kudos to all of these students and to our coaches for the time that they spent. And I think now it's time to hear from our students if they could introduce themselves and tell us something, a memorable moment from Math Masters.
Hi, I'm Zoe Quiney, and what was fun for me was earning an award because I've never really earned an award before.
My name is Ryan McKenzie, and my favorite thing about Math Masters was getting to do the facts in the individual rounds.
My name is Ethan Ryan, and my favorite thing about Math Masters was learning how to do different types of math.
My name is Joshua Cable, and my favorite thing about Math Masters is bringing back the big plaque.
Hi, I'm Van Keach, and I thought Math Masters was cool because I got to be with my friends and learn facts.
Hi, I'm Colby Schmidt, and I thought it was cool because we got to show what we know. I'm Gabe Doherty, and I think it was cool because I was able to do lots of hard work with my friends.
Hi, I'm Ainsley Kennedy, and my favorite part was probably the award ceremony because it was like kind of really nerve-wracking and interesting.
And what grades are represented here?
These are all 5th grade students from Hudson Prairie.
All of them 5th,
Yep.
all right.
I like hearing that they think math is cool. We hope that continues all the way through high school. That's great. Any other questions or comments?
Just a question about, so you think math is cool? That's cool. Tell me a little bit about how this format worked. Was it like, did you have to buzz in? Did to beat somebody to the punch to answer the question, or did you?
Well, in the fact round, there was pieces of paper that just had multiple facts, like 7 times 7 or 5 plus 5. And then in the team rounds, there was, like, we got scratch sheets that had the same problems as our team sheets. And there was only one team sheet, and we would have to put down our answer on the team sheet, but we could work on the problem on our regular sheet.
Can anybody give me an example of a problem that was that you were kind of surprised that you got, or that you were pretty proud that you got right?
One I think I got right was like 7 times 11 plus 9 minus 8 times 2, I think.
All right. Good job.
Mr. President?
Yes, Bruce.
So I think it's great that the competitions are, it's an opportunity for you to get involved in a competition at this grade level. Are we looking to expand this to other elementary schools within the district, or is this just a pilot, or is this something you guys are looking to continue to do? I think it's great.
This program is out of Minnesota.
Yep.
And we took 4 teams out of 16 teams, and they had a morning and an afternoon session. And they kind of frown upon too many from one district coming. So as an elementary GT team, we've talked about just hosting one within our own district.
Cool.
And then maybe sending one team from each elementary school to the bigger competition in Hammond.
I like it. Well done.
I have a question.
Yes, Sandy.
Well, now I see lots of wonderful young people out here and only 2 females. So the mixture of the 19 students that were involved, was there more of a balance and they're just not here tonight? Or is this something that mostly boys are involved in?
We have 9 of the 19 were females,
Oh.
so it is a good mix. Yeah, if
Thank
see
you.
that
I
picture.
thought that
Yep.
might be that they weren't here tonight. And that's very good news. Thank you.
Right. Well, thank you very much, and congratulations.
Next, we want to highlight our spring sports, spring athletics. So I'll bring up Stephanie DeVos, our athletic director.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to introduce Cheyenne Massey as our spokesperson.
Hi, I'm Cheyenne Massey. I'm now a Hudson alumni as of last Saturday. I'm captain of the softball team and president of AMP. AMP promotes sportsmanship and attendance at softball game or all games. I'm proud to represent my school and share our impressive athletic accomplishments. First, we're going to start off with congratulating Sydney Squires, who was selected to the first team All-State girls hockey team as a forward. Next, we have a bunch of congratulations for the swim team. Abby Durst, Ellie Keeker, Hannah Manley, Maddie Rohde, and Willie Skinner were all chosen by Wisconsin coaches to the Wisconsin Interscholastic Swim Coaches Association. That you need to have a 3.5 or higher GPA and be on the swim team for at least 2 years and letter at least once. So that was very exciting for them. Also, we had a few more All-State honorable mention people, which was Devin Sika and Willie Skinner. The girls cross-country team, boys cross-country team, and boys hockey were awarded the Big River Sportsmanship Award of the Year, and that was also voted on by coaches in our conference. Lastly, for congratulations, we'd like to congratulate Miles Lewis and Julia Douglas for being the Senior Athlete Award members. You need a 2.5 GPA and lettered in at least 2 different sports for 2 years. So congratulations to them. Next, we have Madison, Andy, and Mrs. Bell to talk about a football thing.
I'm Andy Johnson,
And I'm Madison Davis.
and we'll be senior football players next year. And tonight we're here to talk about the Play It Forward movement. Currently, the parent group, the Hudson Benchwarmers Club, launched an Adopt a Helmet initiative called the Helmet Blitz 2014. They're seeking donations from businesses, grants, and individuals to raise $30,000 to infuse the Hudson High School football program with newer technology helmets. Along with this Helmet Blitz campaign, there are several service components attached. Every Hudson High School football player will make a commitment to play it forward. We will invest our time, talent, and mentorship into the youth football programs and with the Hudson Boosters organization. We are teaming up with Hudson Boosters to provide assistance during the Booster Days celebrations in the parking lots, coaching the ABC football camp, helping with the youth football tryout nights, and lending a hand during the youth football games on Saturdays. Additionally, along with Coach Cowles, we will be hosting drill clinics for the youth in the fall.
Along with everything we're doing to pay it back, we also have lots of thanks to give. We're really thankful for all the support that we experience in this community, with everyone that comes to all our football games and supports our football team. We're thankful for the high quality education that we're provided here at Hudson, and for the dedicated and loyal fans, like I said, that are the best in the state. Whether it be at Newton Field or in Stevens Point, the fan base is tremendous. We appreciate the community's interest in helping us to have top-of-the-line helmets to help continue our futures after our football careers with new helmets. This movement, the Helmet Blitz 2014 and Play It Forward mentorship, is a true pay-it-forward effort with intent to repay the good deeds of others. So thank you. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for the quality education, and thank you for the opportunity to play Hudson High School football.
Mr. President, just a quick question. If somebody wanted to write a check and donate it to the association, how would they do that? Do you know, or can Mrs. Bell maybe enlighten us?
And we have a website, hudsonfootball.org, and we can accept donations online, or also it's online. At our website, you can also mail in a check.
Thank you.
Okay, we're going to start with track. Both the boys and girls team had strong seasons. Boys was conference and regional champions, while the girls were runner-up in both conference and regionals. We have some members of the track team to tell you a little bit more.
Hi, I'm Julia Douglas, and I'm a senior member of the girls track team. Just like quick review of our season. I mean, we all witnessed like the spring this year. It wasn't the best and kind of extended the cold front, but we overcame a lot of adversity, and our coaches were awesome about scheduling meets and getting, I mean, we had like 180 kids out for track this year, both on the boys and girls team, so it was huge that we got a couple JV meets in and JV indoor meets in, so everyone got a chance to compete, and we ended up sending 13 girls down to the state track meet at the end of the year. And again, runner-up conference and regionals, so all in all, it was a pretty successful season.
I'm Ryan Schramm. I run 400. Guys, track this year we did really well. Obviously conference champs, regional champs. We were runner-up at sectionals as well, so we did really well this year. We were actually a little surprised this year. We had a lot of seniors leave, and so we had a lot of guys come up from the younger grades and the people that hadn't come out for track before that did really well this year, and we were really impressed with that. I know we had a couple almost record breakers, and we had a couple records be broken. I broke the 400-meter dash record that's been up for about 30 years. Wow. And then we were within a second of the 4x400-meter relay record that was set last year with another team. And then we just had a really great season. We're really grateful for the good coaches that we have through the Hudson team.
All right, I'm Joe Geisler, and I'm a sophomore. And this was my first year in track. And coming in, I didn't really know what to expect, but I was pleasantly surprised with the year. Everyone got along well, and coaches and the seniors really helped me out a lot, and couldn't have asked for a much better year.
Hi, John Yucatel. I'm a pole vaulter. This is my third year in track. Made it down to state this year. Like Schramm said, we have some of the best coaches in the state. They're always really helpful at practice, really personable. Could always go and talk to them. We had some of the greatest seniors we've ever had. Really, really friendly and really great athletes. Yeah, it's a good year.
And what are the coaches' names? We've heard that we've got great coaches. You might as well recognize them. So.
My dad, Jerry Yucatel. He's a pretty cool guy. Ms. Holm, here as well. Chad Christensen, Justin Colson, Dennis Sadoff, Caleb Johnson, Don Krupa, and Mr. Shabilsky. Yeah.
Great. Anyone else from track then? Do you have anybody else from track that want to
One
present?
thing Johnny forgot to mention, he broke the school pole vault record.
Oh, cool.
And took
Way to
second
go.
at state.
All right.
Yeah, you sort of forgot that part.
Next, we have baseball, coached by Ryan Hoopert.
Right, Coach, did you? No, I guess if the track, what? Very good. Well, I want to congratulate the track team.
Okay, baseball was coached by Ryan Hoopert. They finished second in their conference with a 9-3 conference record, and we have some baseball players here to elaborate on that.
All right, my name's Hunter Fry. I was a senior this year. We only had 3 seniors, which was pretty low for the baseball team. And like she said, we finished 9-3 in conference and 11-9 overall. And this year we started off 1-4, which, I mean, that got us down quite a bit, but we came together as a team, I think, and we turned it around, and we had like a 7-game win streak towards the end of the season, and we beat 2 better seeds than us towards the end. So I think we came together as a team really well.
I'm Sam Glade, and I'm a junior this year. And some of the awards that some of our players got, Miles Lewis got first team all conference. And honorable mention, we had Hunter Fry here, Jake Giordano, Alex Barnard and Cody Heffler all got awards. So every single one of our seniors got an award by the end of the year. And for only having 3 seniors to however many juniors and sophomores on the team they did a really good job turning the team around after a slow start and getting us back on the right track.
All right, thank you.
Okay, boys golf is next, coached by Bill Schaub. The boys golf team actually had state today, so none of the golfers are here. They had 3 returning starters from last season, which are all juniors this year, I believe. And they finished 4th in the Big Rivers Conference and only 3 points away from taking first. So they were all really close right there. They rallied for a 3rd place finish and qualified 1 guy for state today, Pat Fisher. Moving on to softball. Softball was coached by Jim Revore. We were a pretty young team and had about 3 seniors, and some more people are here to tell you about that.
Hi, I'm Kendra Little. We finished 8 and 11 overall and lost our regional semifinal by 1 run. Yeah, as Cheyenne said, we were a really young team. We had 7 sophomores and 1 freshman, so half of our team were underclassmen. So we have like a lot of potential, and we're really looking forward to the future.
And I am Jordan Peterson. I was a senior captain with Cheyenne. And probably one of the biggest highlights this season was beating Baldwin, who they weren't in our conference, but they were undefeated. And that particular pitcher was in the top 5 for the state. We had 2 first-team all-conference, Kendra Little and Jordan Little, and 3 honorable mentions, Cheyenne Massey, Emma Steiner, and Savannah Kelly.
And like they said, you hear the theme over and over again, we had a little rough start going in the spring. So if anyone is interested in building a dome here in Hudson, we'd have a little bit head start on some of the other teams in our conference. We started out earlier this year with the first time ever in Hudson, we had all of our varsity players playing dome ball together starting in January. That's never happened for softball. And we had a rebuilding year a little bit at times, but we were really impressed with, and I was really impressed, my coaching staff was really impressed with how well the girls got along this year, how well we grew and matured, and we have big plans for the future with a lot of young girls coming up. We were real excited about how things went. We have to especially thank the seniors. We had a great group of seniors this year who were really true leaders on and off the field, and we couldn't have done it without them this year. It was when you have a bunch of young girls, sometimes you really need someone to pick them up, and they were always there to pick each other up and take care of each other. So it was an awesome season.
Okay, girls soccer was coached by John Knutson. They shared the conference title with Eau Claire Memorial with an 11-1 conference record, and their coach is going to tell you a little bit more.
Thanks very much. I'm John Knudsen, and I will freely admit I would not make the 5th grade Math Masters program. Well done. I want to thank the Hudson School District, the school board, the administration, as well as Stephanie DeVos and the athletic department. The support that we get from our school district is tremendous in athletics here in Hudson. I also want to thank the Hudson Sidekick Boosters Club for the financial support that they provide for our team. The support has been tremendous. Our goals for the varsity soccer team this year were very simple. Number 1 was to improve the individual skills for the benefit of the team. Number 2 is to represent Hudson High School with honor and pride. And number 3 is to have the most positive experience you can have as a player. And I think we did that this year. We beat River Falls for the first time in 6 years. We beat Eau Claire Memorial for the first time in 10 years and went to the 11-1 record as conference champions. And our overall record was 18-3-1 this year. And the good news is we lose 4 seniors, but the young talent coming up as freshmen and sophomores are terrific, and I think we're going to be in pretty good shape for years to come. I'd like to acknowledge 7 of our players. With the season that we had more players recognized for all-conference than I think we ever have before. First-team all-conference honors went to senior forward Alexa Haynes and junior forward Maggie Kaler. Second team all-conference went to senior defender and captain Lauren Berglund and junior Kate Sanaki. An honorable mention went to Marky Thompson, Megan Manette, and Emily Ryder. And it's truly an honor and a privilege to coach this team, so thanks very much.
As shy as he may seem, I have to tell you that John Knudsen was recently named Coach of the Year in the BRC.
All right.
So congratulations.
Boys tennis finished overall a 17-4 record, conference and sectional runner-up, and we have some state qualifiers that are going to tell you more about that.
Hi there, my name is Jack Schulte,
I'm Sam Duco.
and first of all, we'd like to thank you for saving the best sport for last, which is boys tennis. But quick rundown about ourselves: we are the #1 Dubs team for the Hudson High School tennis team. Yeah, we got second as a team in the BRC, second place in sectionals, and me and Sam and Mark Johnson were on first team all conference.
Yeah, and Mark Johnson, me, and Jack all made it to state this year. And Mark Johnson is a sophomore, and he was seeded in state, and I think he's the first kid ever from Hudson to be seeded, which is a pretty big deal. And Mark finished in the top 16 at state, so he's second team all-state. And 9 of our 10 players on the tennis team qualified for sectionals, which is pretty sweet too.
Overall, it was a fun senior year. Couldn't have asked for a better group of boys.
And we had 7 seniors, which is a lot.
There's only 10 players on the varsity team, so 7's a lot.
I would like to add that Mark Johnson is a sophomore and did qualify as to state last year as a first time 2 years in a row. So congratulations to Mark. And he's also, I believe, the first Hudson tennis player to advance past the second round. Am I correct? So congratulations to Mark.
That is all for sports, but we now have a little bit of a recap from all the sports throughout the year. We had a total of 821 athletes out of our 1,760 students, so that's 47% of our student body, which is an increase from last year, which was 46%. So we hope to continue growing in that. This year we had a total of 493 letter winners. We had 82 athletes make first team all conference, 42 make second team, 36 make honorable mention, and we had 151 athletes that were academic all conference. Along with that, we had 70 state participants. That's all for the spring sports, and I thank you for having us today, and I will miss Amp and Miss DeVos.
I just want to sum it up that I just want to say thank you to all of you for having us throughout the year. And a special thank you to the athletes and the parents, the coaches, and the community. Without your support, we wouldn't all be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. More recognition, Sandy?
More recognitions. Next, going to ask our 3 teachers. I see Lisa, Megan, Renee to come forward. We have 3 educators that were recently presented the Star Excellence Award from the Education Foundation of Hudson. We are all well aware that the foundation is a private, community-based organization that provides amazing financial support to our district. And with the Excellence Award, they're all elementary teachers this year, but they received, I should have asked somebody to bring it. You have a vase, and then a monetary reward as well. So if you'd introduce yourselves and any comments that you want to make.
Hi, my name is Megan Anders, and I teach elementary music here at Rivercrest. I've been with the district for my total of 9 years that I've been teaching, and I love my job.
I'm Renee Bishop, and I teach 4th grade here at Rivercrest, and I was hired 16 years ago for the district, and I've been at 3 different elementary schools. my last one before this was Willow River, and I student taught at Holton. So lots of fun. And again, I love my job too. Great place to come to work every day.
And I'm Lisa Plackner. I am a first grade teacher at Willow River, and I've been there all 15 years that I was lucky enough to get hired in this district, and feel very, very fortunate for all of your support and the community support, and just it's a great place to be. Thank you.
Thank you for your service. Okay, now you're deferring back to me. And I think at this time, we'd like Diane Radel to come forward. All right. Diane.
Reporting for duty.
It's, I know, with mixed feelings that we are saying goodbye tonight with your many years of service. I want to start with that's 40 years overall service to public education. The last 28 of those here in this district, 11 of those as the executive assistant to the director of personnel, and not the least of which 17 years serving the superintendent and us Board of Education members. And I think I'll open it up at this time to other members for comments.
I'd like to take the first shot at embarrassing Diane. You know, I spent a long time in administration and understand the value of that position that you've served in, Diane. And it's really, in my mind, it's really kind of the glue that keeps things together. There's all these minds out there that are coming up with these creative thoughts and ideas, and somehow somebody has got to put that into some kind of coherent process and form. And I know just from having worked as closely with, as I did with Mary as president, understand that you served in that position very well, Diane, and for many, many years. And it's like many that we've said goodbye to. We can't express our appreciation really enough. Just hope that you have a wonderful retirement. You won't forget us, and we'll see you around.
Thank you.
Others?
Mr. President. Oh,
Okay,
go ahead,
Lynn.
Carrie. Go ahead.
All right, she's deferring to Carrie. Go ahead, Carrie.
Diane, I have not had the opportunity to work with you for very long, but I am hugely appreciative of how supportive you have been during my onboarding process, and appreciative of the genuine concern that you've had. So I wish you all the best in retirement, and enjoy your grandkids, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lynn?
Mr. President. Okay, Diane, are you ready?
Oh, boy.
Okay. Well, I just wanted to tell you that when I think of you, several adjectives came to mind: hardworking, dedication, caring, professional, and passionate. You bring excellence and endurance to everything that you do, as demonstrated by your 28 years of service with the district. I also had a few other adjectives. Tenacity came to mind as you adapt to new board members, new superintendents, new administration, and change at multiple levels. Patience as you try to wrangle a superintendent and 7 board members to get to a meeting and get there on time. And also, I just wanted to tell you that I hope that you bring that same energy that you bring to us every day to your retirement and thoroughly enjoy it. So thank you, very much.
Yes. And do you have any words that you want to impart? Okay.
Actually.
This is your opportunity.
Actually, I just want to say that it's been my pleasure to work for this district and this board for the whole time, the whole 28 years. And I think this district is so lucky to have the dedicated and talented people that run for the school board and serve on the board. It's really amazing the amount of time that you do have to put in. And I guess in the words of Nancy Sweet, I would say, I'm going to miss board meetings because I like them.
Yeah. All right.
So with that, thank you very much.
Thank you, Diane. We do have something for you a little later, so you can't leave early, okay? All right, and now we turn it over to reports, I guess. Superintendent report, correct?
Thank you, Mr. President. Yes. So we have another award to announce for Hudson High School. Has been recognized once again for advanced placement by the Wisconsin Advanced Placement Advisory Council. Hudson High School has been named a pace-setter school because of the impressive student access to AP courses and the excellent AP exam results that our students achieve. So this award is unique in Wisconsin, and Hudson High School has, this award is given to Hudson High School at level 2, and the requirements at that level are over 20% of, equal to 20% or more of the students of the entire student body taking exams, and then the percentage of students with a passing exam of 3 or above is 65%. So just to give you a frame of reference about Hudson, this award is based on our 2003 results because we haven't had the 2014 results yet.
In 2013?
2013, what did I say?
2003. So
Oh, yes, thank you. Thank you for that correction.
You haven't been here that long.
No. So thank you. So in 2013, did it right that time, if we took the percentage of all students at Hudson High School, 25.1% of the students took AP exams. And then the passing rate, and at level 2, remember, it's 65%, and ours is 80%. And what I can tell you at level 1, in 2012, there were only 3 schools in the state that met 30% or more of their students taking exams, and 70% of the passing rate. Remember, our passing rate's 80. So we're doing very, very well, and I'd like Principal Peg Shoemaker to come forward, and I know President Johnson has the award to give to her.
Very good. Photo opportunity, I guess.
Thank you so much for the recognition this evening, and I know that this really represents our entire district and a EC 12 program, a strong program. I also know that our AP teachers are incredibly dedicated to high rigor, high expectations for learning, and this definitely recognizes their work, and I hope to be at a level 1 next year. So thank you.
So we're anticipating the 2014 AP results. And if there aren't any questions, I'll move on to the next on the agenda. Okay, which is graduation. On Saturday, we had the 133rd Hudson High School commencement. It was a wonderful occasion, and the gloomy skies outside did not dampen our parade inside. 417 seniors met graduation requirements, and in a packed house in the gym, they walked across the stage and received their diploma. We had overflow in the auditorium, and as those classes get bigger, I'm not sure where we're going to go with those. The tickets for family members are certainly restricted, and it is a great occasion, but it is limited to 4 tickets apiece. So certainly kudos to Principal Peg Shoemaker and her team for planning. The planning and preparation for that event was evident. Representing the board is President Jamie Johnson, Vice President Brian Bell, and Treasurer Lynn Robson. The commencement speakers, the valedictorian was Nate Bennett. The senior class president was Charlie Johnson. The high school social studies teacher who spoke was Matt Friedel. And we want to certainly think beyond graduation to that all-night party that the junior and senior parents put on. A wonderful, healthy event for our kids, and thanks to the many, many parents that participated and led that event, but particularly to Glenda and Paul Moen, who were the senior chairs, and to Paul and Kristen McGinnis, who were the junior parent chairs. Also want to thank Randy Hansen from the Hudson Star-Observer for the photos that we now have of graduation. High-quality photos we really appreciate, and I'm sure we'll use those in many occasions. I don't know if any board members who attended would like to make any comments about graduation.
Ryan?
Yeah, just a comment. That was, the whole afternoon, and I just had the ability. I was fortunate to be up on the podium watching all the new graduates come across, and it was really fun to kind of to be kind of firsthand and be part of that experience. And then the all-night party was just amazing. I was kind of in awe about how that school was transformed and how all the seniors could really kind of be kids and just had a good time. And it was really fun to kind of see how much fun they had all together. So it was a great afternoon and a great night. So nice job to everyone involved, like you said, Mary.
So moving on to the new announcement of the leadership team at the middle school, you will remember that Associate Principal Jim DeLune is moving on to be middle school principal at Prescott, and we now have a new associate principal coming next year. It's Trevor Hagerman. He will be the new Hudson High School associate principal. He's coming from Carlisle Community Schools in Iowa, where he's the Dean of Students Associate Principal, and he's been there for the past 3 years. He's also worked as a school counselor in grades K through 12 for 7 years. So good background, and we're looking forward to have Trevor join us July 1. And also, we have an internal promotion, Diane Schofield, who is a middle school science teacher presently this year, will be moving into the middle school Dean of Students position. She's been in Hudson since 2004, and she's been a teacher leader in many roles, certainly at the district level on teaching, learning, and assessment team, but she's had many leadership roles at the middle school as well. You might be interested, for the dean position, only internal candidates were considered, and there were 10 internal candidates for that position. So we welcome Trevor, and we're looking forward to Diane in that new role. I guess we're hiring a science teacher then.
Sounds like.
Yeah. And we want to just congratulate, lastly, as part of my report, our communications coordinator, community service coordinator, Tracy Habishaline. She has been elected to the Wisconsin School Public Relations Association Board of Directors. This is certainly recognition of Tracy's expertise in communications, as she's recognized regionally in our area and also at the state level. She's presented at CISA 11 to many of our regional superintendents, and I can tell you I heard wonderful comments about her presentation to them, and she's also been at a number of state conferences presenting and representing Hudson very well. So congratulations to Tracy.
Congratulations, Tracy. Okay, moving on, that completes the reports, or superintendent's report. I guess we have now other reports. I want to give a brief report with Brian's help on last night's meeting that we had. It was a special meeting of the Common Council of the city. It was conducted at City Hall, and it was co-led with Mayor Burchell welcoming everyone. And so I think that we have the agenda up there. The first part was primarily to introduce the proposal for the new 3-year high school, which I guess all board members except Carrie were participating in making that option choice. We had lots of discussion, but this was an opportunity to inform the city council what we were going to build. When the idea of rezoning St. Croix Meadows first came up, that was not the case. We had certainly secondary space needs, but we didn't have a definitive option. So that was the primary purpose of this meeting, was to specifically discuss the viability of pursuing St. Croix Meadows as a location for the new three-year high school. So with that, Brian, do you want to just go over briefly what we showed on these next two slides?
Yeah, sure. So in the next two slides, we just showed the original proposal based on the earlier referendum in 2012, and we just used that really as a kind of a benchmark to show kind of the new proposals. So we spent most of the time on the new proposal. So in the original proposal in 2012, the district was going to buy the whole parcel, the 130 acres, effectively taking it off the kind of the tax rolls. And then we were thinking about developing the 10 acres in the top corner there, the northwest corner. And so what the proposal was for that we presented yesterday, in the next slide, is really try to find a way to partner with the city so that this could be a win both for the city and for the school district. So the big difference here is that the school district, what we're suggesting is that we just, and we haven't entered into any agreement right now with the seller, but the idea was that we were only going to enter into an agreement to buy the area that's in the green, leaving the 33 acres for the city. And the idea here is that that's prime land. It's right on the travel corridor. The fact that there's a high school and the facilities would drive more traffic, would raise the value of that land. Also, would be more attractive to a developer because some of the challenges with that site are, of the existing dog track and things like that. So that was the proposal, and then we just briefly went over some of the cost, which is the next slide. So the cost. Some big changes here from the original 2012 proposal was that it was about 45% less expensive to the taxpayers. So the land would be $4.6 million versus $8.25. So pretty significant kind of tax savings on the land, and so we kind of talked through that. And also remember that there is value to that building, the pad, some of the kind of the enduring elements of that building, like the steel and concrete. So and we can repurpose a lot of that as we build a three-year school. So that's also a benefit. So that's what we covered, Jamie. And,
yeah, we really covered that in about the first 12 minutes of the meeting, was just presenting the proposal and then opening it up to discussion, which again, I think the mayor did just an excellent job of leading. I think everyone was able to make a point if they had it, and there were many pointed questions, and we certainly have work to do yet, which we have to still pursue, and I know Tim's going to be making some contacts, particularly when it comes to reviewing the stormwater retention issue, potential wetlands, and then, of course, primarily the developing side, which we are not experts at, but we'll be contacting the seller to try and get some input that we can give the city.
Yeah. And then there was the actions were some of those tactical follow-ups, and then also to regroup with the city council, maybe here and call a meeting here in the school district was kind of the next step. So. It was great. It was a really good sitting down with the city council. It felt like a really positive work session, bringing these two organizations together to work through this. So appreciate everyone's attendance on that, and it was great to have the city council there.
Yeah, I know that the city was also very appreciative of us coming forward, besides the factual differences that Brian pointed out as far as the amount of land being purchased and the price, but also the approach and the fact that we don't have an offer to purchase, but we're trying to get, not spend a lot of time and effort on something that's not going to go. And if this has a chance, we are going to pursue it to the extent that it can. So, does anybody else have any comments on that? All right. Bruce?
Yeah, just curious, we didn't have any definitive timelines last night, and I know it's going to take some work to get that. But we've got a considerable amount of work ahead of us. Traffic studies, which includes some other, entities within the state. The wetland. Some of these I'm sure will take shorter times than others, but for me, my keen interest is making sure that we have a very tight timeline to those. If November is still the timeline that we're shooting for with a referendum, so it's just something I think we need to stay on. I'm sure we have a work session and some opportunities, but last night we didn't have any definitive time frame for that. So just be curious to see where that comes.
And just in response, we have a meeting tomorrow administratively to start working through those details. As Mayor Burchell identified, some of that detail is already done. And so we just need to pull it out and put it together and present or share that information again. So yes, there's new information that you talked about that will take some time. Mm-hmm. And also there's information that we already have. So it's a combination.
Okay. Mr. President, I assume there were minutes taken for that at that meeting, and would we be getting a copy of those minutes?
That's a very good question. I'll have to talk with the mayor, because I know that the mayor, for instance, was the one primarily responsible for the seating arrangements, since they were the host of the meeting. And I know, Tom, you've attended the multi-governmental unit meetings. Typically, the host is responsible for minutes. So while that wasn't definitively set forth, I guess, between the mayor and I, we'll be talking about that. I know that it was certainly videotaped, mm-hmm. and maybe we could have our new executive assistant go through and make minutes from the video. But I think, in fact, it was broadcast live as well.
I would assume that there are some minutes probably produced. It was an open meeting. So I would guess there were some minutes.
Yeah, in fact, I saw somebody sitting next to the mayor who was doing virtually no talking and a lot of writing. So I assume that was the person taking the.
And I would assume that we'll be able to review those minutes and approve those minutes.
We'll make that contact.
He who controls the minutes controls the meeting.
That's right. All right. Very good. Well, yeah, we'll review those. Thanks for that heads up. Any other comments on the meeting? All right, moving on then to reports. Sandy's up with the high school Learning for the Future update.
Yep, and my piece is small. We're inviting Principal Peg Shoemaker along with her team to give us an update on high school Learning for the Future.
Good evening, and I would like to introduce the team that I have with me this evening. This is Josh Halverson, our Dean of Students, and he has been from the beginning very active in part of the small learning community and action team that was developed over, my goodness, probably 4 years ago. 2009, and as we've been carrying this vision for high school Learning for the Future forward. Along with him is Brian Johnson. Brian is a science teacher in our new freshman academy, and he'll speak to that. He comes to us from the middle school. We nabbed him, and we feel incredibly lucky to have him. And he also is a wrestling coach at the high school level, and just an amazing teacher. So we're thrilled to have him with us at the high school. Also, Wendy Langer, who is an associate principal, has been at the high school and seen many transitions, and she represents the advisory program, and that's part of the High School Learning for the Future. She's with us. And then to my left are Lisa Watkins and Lynette Beinlich. They've come to you before in terms of representing the Career Partnership Academies. So each year we come twice a year actually to the board to give an update on High School Learning for the Future, and so this is our update for the end of the year, which represents enormous work that's gone on far before I came, and always has been supported by the board, so very grateful for that. So we each have a part in tonight's presentation. So the first thing just to mention is that we're going to turn this on, and is that back in when we started after the HST 2025 and started developing the visioning process for high school learning for the future, we looked at a lot of high school reform effort and how do we make remake the high school experience for students. Knowing there was a lot of effort behind high school reform, knowing that many high schoolers were not engaged and not ready to enter their post-secondary experience, whether that would be the world of work or whether that would be 2- or 4-year college. And so we began to look at that, studied over 20 schools in terms of their high school redesign, and really looked at how do we drive learning that is continuous and collaborative. We know that that's what the world of work is. We are 24/7 connected, and that is the experience that we want for our students, meaning that they can access flipped classroom lectures online, where the lectures online and the students come in and do the work together. It means students are able to work in collaborative groups through the use of the Google platform and through the use of one-to-one. This is the type of learning environment that our students will enter in college and certainly enter in the world of work. Rarely is learning done in isolation. We want learning to be dynamic and it to be an interaction between experiences, ideas, and to make it be a fluid process, not just a course at a time, doing a worksheet here and there, but a dynamic process where kids are really engaged in the experience. We also want a learning where it's connected. That means connected to the community, connected to one another, connected through experiences. And so we want our high school to be a connected place between peer-to-peer, peer-to-teacher, as well as peer-to-community. We want learning to be engaged. Learning is not rigorous learning is not done in isolation. It is done collaboratively. Currently, we don't have collaboration spaces for our students to be able to work. This is the kind of learning that we want to happen, where we have spaces that kids can actually collaborate together on projects and learning experiences. And finally, learning is important to future choices. You're going to hear in just a few minutes about Freshman Academy and why that's so important. If a student fails a freshman course, automatically their life at high school level becomes reduced. And that means that we are attempting to prevent any sort of failure at the freshman level. We've studied our data. You'll be hearing about that more when we present our SMART goals. But having students pass high school freshman courses is imperative to a well-rounded elective schedule that allows choice and personalization in the high school experience. Also, obviously, the future choices of post-secondary and the world of work experiences. So those are the things that we're looking for, that we're aiming for in redesigning Hudson High School. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Josh, who's going to speak about Freshman Academy.
So, everybody got me all right? The first thing was this is an incredible physical task as well. We moved approximately 30 classrooms. Our custodial staff was amazing. We mixed up the high school. We have science teachers next to English teachers, next to social studies teachers. So it actually benefited more than just our freshmen. The whole high school kind of got a new invigoration. We injected oxygen into it. So the Freshman Academy is approximately 16 teachers that are working together and collaborating. And when we looked at what made this successful was a model out of St. Louis Park, the Barr Institute that kind of developed these 4 things that they looked at, actually got interest from Hazelden. Hazelden purchased this. So we got trained this summer with Mr. Johnson and some other staff members, and we looked at what makes students successful. And one of the major things that does it is how are they connected to teachers, and 3 heads focusing on one student is much better than 1. So by them now having collaboration time, which is very new and different in the high school, most teachers are used to being in departments of the same type. We're now putting them with other departments. So again, going back to the English, science, and social studies, they're able to talk about grade level decision-making on specific students. When we first looked at our data, one of the things that we look at is Fs, so how many Fs are being given out. Our first quarter F list was the lowest in 5 years, so we were super excited about that. That was really exciting. It kind of plateaued back to average. One of the things that we've identified is we can get to students right away. We can do kind of that nagging, or you need to get your homework in, but we still need to look at higher level implementation of RTI at the high school. And again, that is new stuff for us. I'm going to come back to the next slide here, but I thought I'd let Mr. Johnson kind of speak on to these 4 statements.
How's this? All right. Peg alluded to some of the things, kind of 4 principles of our academy there. And number 1, the staff and student relationship is absolutely critical in keeping the freshmen on track. The renewed focus that the high school has on these relationships has led to the development of a strong advisory program and now our freshman academy. Being at the middle school and experiencing that house system for 9 years, I can see the carryover and the transition. Basically, what we have now with our academy is a modified house system that's high school appropriate. It's not a middle school model. It's a model that works for high school kids that's going to get these freshmen ready to go for the rest of their high school career. The transition and their adjustment, statement 2, being new to the high school, I don't have any prior knowledge to compare the adjustment to, but in speaking to other staff members, they've expressed that the transition has happened more quickly and much easier this year than it has in the past. Most likely due to the fact that the academy teams are expressing their expectations to the freshman students quicker and more consistently, and so those students all know what the bottom line is. Involvement. We had a great representation of student athletes up here earlier, and our math students as well in the elementary level. But that involvement typically is extracurricular or clubs. Through the academy, you get to work so closely with a small group of students. You get to know them, you get to know what they enjoy, and through that process, you dialogue about what they're interested in and what they're doing. That involvement, you can watch them play their games, you can ask them about their clubs and activities. That support helps those freshmen to feel connected. They've got a staff member who they can count on, who they trust, who knows them a little bit more than just what they see for 45 minutes in the classroom. The second type of...
Okay. Brian,
yes.
just to be sure that what you're saying is interesting and important, can you just slide that microphone over just to speak really close into it?
All right. I apologize. The second type of involvement, I guess, for statement 3, is the involvement of the students in their own academics. The students now take an ownership and a partnership rather than teacher-centered, learning. The students play a pivotal role. Staff and students dialogue consistently and frequently about their improvement, about their strengths, about their weaknesses, and about future coursework. The conversations are, again, consistent, and multiple teachers are speaking to these students about the same topic, and so they're getting the message clearly and consistently from the history teacher, from the English teacher, and from the science teacher. Finally, the critical keystone part, I guess, to the behind-the-scenes work that the staff does is the collaboration. The common planning time is paramount to what we're trying to accomplish with the Freshman Academy. During that time, we sit down and we meet, we review student grades, we review behavior, we review attendance, and we then can form a plan as how to address these students and to help them succeed. If need be, we use that time then to meet with the students individually, we meet with counselors, we meet with parents or administration, and find a way to support that student. I guess overall, the Academy this year has helped really these freshmen become successful, but also laid the groundwork for a successful high school career, and I think that's ultimately what our goal is. So I guess that's my perspective.
Very good. Thank you.
Want to hand me that mic? I'll just hopefully not unplug it. So lastly, we had some data here. So we wanted to know our teacher, our staff members' perspective. So this represents all the staff members that are involved in the Freshman Academy. A 1 would be a not agreeing, 4 would be agreeing with the statements. So our staff members are kind of middle of the road on this. First year, kind of what we expected. But parts that you don't see in numbers is what happens in these meetings. When I go to them, the teacher's very focused, it's very student-driven. There's been really cool stories where parents have come in and we've problem solved, and it's the communication, it's all there, everyone's there. My own thing that I found out today is this is the first time in my 14 years of teaching that I've ever witnessed a freshman crying because it was the last day of school. I've never seen that before in 14 years. So I think that really goes a testament to our staff that have really jumped in with both feet in the water and are using this as an opportunity to further students' growth.
Okay, advisories. So some of you know that we've been rolling advisory up a grade level each year, and next year all the students in the high school will have an advisor, and nearly every teacher will be an advisor. Not quite sure where everyone's going to go, but we'll figure that out over the summer. As you might remember, advisories focus primarily on academic support, post-secondary planning, and life skills, and there's a curriculum that's adjusted based on the needs of each grade level. Over the summer, a team of teachers and counselors will be reviewing and revising the existing curriculum, and we do know that we want to include more career exploration and post-secondary planning into the freshman and sophomore years. We also have a similar team working on the senior level advisory curriculum, and that focus is going to be on post-secondary readiness and maximizing their senior year. So since advisory began, students and staff have expressed interest in having a time during advisory period for students to move around the building, go to a teacher that they would like to have extra academic support. So this spring we piloted an 8-week academic Tuesday, and students were given that opportunity during the advisory period. Weren't sure how it was going to work, but it worked extremely well. And based on the staff and student survey results, the advisory council recommended that we implement this next year, and we plan to do so. I would like to share a story with you from an advisor that the result of this experience that he's sharing was a greater awareness and appreciation of the value of connectedness and creating a sense of belonging in order to get the work done that needs to get done in advisory. So, making connections, saga of an advisory. The story you're about to hear is about making connections with kids. I have to start by saying I was in no way thrilled about the idea of being assigned a group of students that I'd have to spend time with most days for 4 years. I didn't think I fit the counselor mold. I never been a huggy or warm, fuzzy person either. I did, however, make up my mind that if I was going to enjoy this new adventure, I'd have to make it work, so I set out to do just that. I always remembered how easy it's been to get me to do anything, feed me. An army travels on its stomach, Patton once said, so I knew somewhere along the way there needed to be food involved. Second, I and none of my students were looking forward to circle time. For everyone, Circle is an awkward and uncomfortable campfire moment without the fire. There's too much trusting that has to take place for everyone to participate. The plan I came up with was for it to act as an icebreaker, a trust and purpose example for all of us buying into the Circle concept. Circle could become a good means for all of us to put our cards out on a discussion table and be a valuable communication skill for later in life. For the first weeks of Circle Time, I did the standard getting to know you questions like, what's your favorite color, what's your favorite song, who's your favorite singer? They had no idea who Burt Bacharach or who Engelbert Humperdinck were, but they got a kick out of the names. Partway into about the third Circle Time, I asked if you had to pick one topping for your pizza, what would it be? And the responses went around the circle. I kept a tally in my head for the various pizza toppings: 6 sausage, 7 pepperoni, 3 cheese, and 1 Canadian bacon. Worked out a deal with our local Pizza Hut manager. If he could make up the pies, I had a prep period just before advisory. I would chase over, pick them up, get back, and be set up before my advisory group would show up. I set up in a meeting room down from my classroom so I could really surprise them. It could not have worked out better, with the exception of my biggest kid seeing me walking into the building from his classroom that faced the parking lot. He entered the room first for advisory, asking if the pizza I walked into the school was for our advisory. I lied and said no, it was for the office staff because I lost a bet. He was temporarily crushed, and I could see he was hungrier than a spring bear. Once all of my advisory students were gathered for the day, I marched them over to the room where everything was ready. They were surprised and they were happy to dive in. As they opened the boxes, everyone was getting slices of their favorite pizza, even the cheese and Canadian bacon folks. A student asked, "How did you know Canadian bacon was my favorite pizza?" I fired right back and said, "You told us in Circle on Monday." And the room was silent. All the kids looked at each other, they looked at me, and I said, "See, you can be heard, you can be listened to, and you can get results if you participate and articulate your thoughts clearly." The next statements were, "We're going to have the best advisory ever." Another said, "I think it's cool we get to be a group for 4 years." At the end of the hour, I knew it was probably the best $75 I ever spent. I can't say every day has been a bed of roses in advisory. In fact, some days I feel as though I'm dragging them kicking and screaming through a cedar swamp. But we are a community that gets it done. That said, I have to say advisory is valuable for all of us, most importantly for connections that make the kids and us, adults, better people. So we want students to be challenged. And I think about the student who was barely passing at the end of the first semester of his 9th grade year. And through lots of encouragement, high expectations from his advisor, he became more engaged in school and advisory, and although he still struggles, he has shown academic improvement, and that was shared by his counselor. We want students to be open to the possibilities. A counselor shared with me that a new student to HHS reported to him that her advisory was extremely important in helping her to meet people and develop friendships. In her former school, she felt disconnected and often felt mistreated by her peers. So this has been a great year for her socially and academically, and she feels as if she's found a home. And finally, we want our students to thrive and to have a positive mindset. So a student was described to me by his counselor as somewhat moody, angry, disengaged with school, and struggling academically. He's now gone from being a C and D student to an AB student. Both the counselor and the student credit the student's advisor as being a key influence because of her being there to listen, encourage, and provide support. He's now a junior, and he has post-secondary plans in place.
So to go from the 9th grade academies, the students have the option in their sophomore year to join a career partnership academy. So a group of us went to Phoenix last fall and went to the National Career Academy Coalition. I had to write that down. Went to the conference so that we could get a clear vision of what we were implementing with our career academies, of which we have the STEM Plus Academy and the Healthcare Academy. So the 9th grade students had the option this January to decide if those two pathways were what they thought their career may entail, they could join these academies. So that's the Career Partnership Academies. And then my major role this year was developing the Thursday morning speaker series. So I had to write down what I wanted to say because I could talk for about a half hour about how much fun it was and how awesome it was. We had speakers in every Thursday morning from 7:30 to 8:30 from the 16 career clusters. We had people from the community, we had alumni, we had parents of students representing different corporations. We had Brian was there from Code 42, which was fun. We had speakers from 3M, from the Twins, from Medtronic. We had some Olympic athletes that came and talked about being Olympic athletes. So we had students every Thursday morning. We had between 10 and 100 students that showed up. They have the option to sleep in on Thursday mornings, and most of them took it. But the kids that did show up learned a great deal about specific careers. We had great speakers. We had Meg that did the article back in August so that the community knew what was happening. I was contacted from people that we didn't have enough Thursdays in the school year to get all the speakers that offered to come and speak. So we'll continue the series next year. The students that are in the academies will have to attend at least 5 of the speakers. They'll get credit for that. And it will be more focused on STEM and healthcare, but every month we will have one speaker from one of the 16 career clusters and then focus more on the STEM and healthcare. So the highest number that we had was 100 for students that were interested in the engineering speaker, and we also had, the next number was 60 for kids interested in a healthcare speaker. So we're kind of on the path of that's where our kids want to be. So that is Career Speaker Series.
All right, so going back to the 2 academies that are going to start up next year, STEM Plus and Healthcare, there's about 121 to be exact, sophomores that enrolled. 74 students are enrolled in the STEM Plus Academy, and then 47 are enrolled in the Healthcare Academy. For the recruiting process, there are a couple of events that took place. The first one was the Girls in STEM event that took place at the middle school here. Lots of community members were involved with putting that on. It gave opportunities for girls K through 12 to listen to people in the STEM careers, do some hands-on activities, expose them to the different STEM careers. Because as we know, getting girls involved in the STEM fields is a big point that we're trying to focus on. The other event was the Healthcare Discovery Day. That was only open to 9th grade students who were potentially thinking about a healthcare career. Whether they were thinking about joining the academies or not was not a prerequisite or anything. It was just open to all 9th grade students. It started out the day at CVTC down in River Falls, where students had the opportunity to tour the facility. They had instructors speak to them. One of the instructors kind of went through all the different careers that were there for healthcare, more than just a doctor and a physician. A lot of students didn't realize that there are very well-paying jobs out there that you don't have to have a 4-year degree for. And so that was really nice to kind of hear and expose the students to, so that they're not all like, oh, I'm going to be a physician, or I'm going to be a, pediatric nurse or something like that, just to expose them to different areas. So that was really nice. They got to, oh my gosh, I'm blanking on the name of the dummy they got to play around with. They have like a life-sized patient. Stanley, yeah, Stanley. It stood for Standard Man. And so they could take his pulse, they could see him breathe. He was awesome and the kids were touching his skin, he was very lifelike. And then after that was in the morning, and then the afternoon they split up. They could either choose to go to Catalyst here in Hudson, or they could go to Hudson Hospitals. And in both places they did hands-on activities. The employees there kind of walked them through the different, again, kind of careers that they could do. At the hospital, they took them into where the ambulance bay, and so some of the kids got to go into an ambulance, and they had a great time, and a lot of students came back really just excited. And many of those students that went on that Healthcare Discovery Day did end up applying for the Healthcare Academy, so that was really nice to see. So those were just kind of the couple of recruitment things we did. Also going along with the academies is we have 2 teacher teams for going forward for next year. So there are 12 teachers on both teams. And through this summer, those teacher teams are going to be doing some work on and training on creating interdisciplinary units, kind of using project-based learning as a method for developing it. So those, it kind of has that freshman academy feel a little bit in that those teachers will kind of share the same students within the academy, and so they will have a common planning time, but they can talk about student issues as well. But kind of the main point is getting that interdisciplinary work done so that students see that connection between what they're learning in math and what their prospective career might possibly be. So that will be happening this summer. And then also on August 26th, we're going to have an academy orientation night. So that will give the students an opportunity to meet those groups of teachers and kind of get to know everyone and just kind of kick off the start of the school year. And then the last thing is just the community support that we've already gotten this year. As Lynette was saying, the people that volunteered to give up an hour of their day to come and speak at the Thursday morning speaker series was just phenomenal. It was really great to see with both of the kind of recruitment events, people gave up their time from home and things like that to get our students excited about careers in STEM and healthcare. Along with that, a lot of community members have, volunteered to be mentors and provide job shadowing opportunities and things like that for our students as well. We've had a couple of great grants, provided to us. We got the 3M Ingenuity Grant worth $20,000 this spring, so that will be used to help implement and start up the STEM Academy. And 3M has also verbally committed to providing more support as we go along with our journey.
Great.
So this particular generation of students are called the Me generation. Time magazine named the millennials the Me generation. And if you think about that, kids want a voice in their education. And one of the pieces that we're building in is how can they have a voice in creating a personalized plan toward their goals. And these are what we're designing. We are, including personalization, interest-driven, connected, rigorous, and engaged through the High School Learning for the Future vision. And moving forward, in spite of space challenges, we're continuing to move forward with the vision. And thank you for your support toward so many different ways. So we're open to questions and comments. And again, thank you.
Mr. President?
Yes, Lynn.
You mentioned the orientation. Is that just for students or students and parents, or what will the orientation entail?
The orientation would be for students, parents, families, so younger siblings more than welcome to come as well.
Brian?
Did you have to turn away anyone from the STEM or the Healthcare Academy?
We did not turn anyone away.
Bruce?
Can you just speak a little bit, and I mean, it's hard to, I guess, envision this, but any concerns if the discussion around the new building is to convert the current high school to an 8-9 building, that transition, because you got, freshman academies today, and it's gonna be different. So have you thought through that? Have you, if the referendum goes through, can you maybe just speak to some of your thoughts around that?
Well, certainly when we did the preliminary meetings with Hoffman, we incorporated the opportunity for integration through academies. Are you speaking specifically to the 8-9 building?
No, just, just with that change, it's going to be a different dynamic, and I'm just curious if that's going to change anything for the work that you're doing or the planning that you have, if those things change, because the current plan's a 10 through 12 building, right, and the current high school is going to go to an 8-9, so I'm just curious if that's going to put a wrench in anything with the plans that you guys or if it's sectioned off enough where it's really going to be a pretty easy transition for the kids.
I we have not talked about in terms of freshman academy, since it's sort of an offshoot if you think about the middle school and the house concept, and uses a lot of the same research in terms of students needing to be connected, students needing to have a small learning community. I don't anticipate concerns with that. You know, there's the elective pieces, there's a lot of those sorts of potential pieces to be worked out. But I don't see that being impeding our vision for high school learning for the future at all.
Okay. Great. Thanks.
Any other questions? I guess I had one on the having all the freshmen, freshman advisories together. Did that help with the traffic flow in the hallways? Josh must have an answer to that.
My office is right next to there, so I would say it alleviated some of the link traffic, but if you give a student 5 minutes, they're not just going to go one door down, they're still going to go explore, meet up with their friends. But I would say primarily between the link decreased it. Still very, very crowded. It's still a lot of students still choose to use the outdoor hallway on that. So probably anecdotally a little bit, but not much than that.
Yeah, and it wasn't for the entire day anyway, right? It's just those 3 classes, so it's like morning and afternoon
Correct.
blocks.
And one of the things that we learned early, because we platooned, it's a term where they went from one class to the next, and they traveled as a group. One of the things that would happen is if there was any type of issue that first hour, it then grew second hour, and then it grew third hour. So we are going to, and even our middle school doesn't platoon students, so we're going to go back to still grouping them, but allowing for some change of students. So there is kind of new life again going throughout that.
All right, thank you. Thank you for your report. All right, next, Brian, are you going to introduce this anti-bullying?
Yeah, I am. I think we can move through this pretty fast. I know Tony's a few slides, but the bottom line is that bullying is serious, and we look at it seriously. But we had 3,000 incidents in our school district, and we had five bullying incidents, which is less than like 0.1%.
And the definition of an incident is what?
Well, incident can be, well, Tony kind of go over the definition of incident, but.
All right, Tony's going to do that.
Yeah,
right.
so, but when we look at this, it's not just bullying, we just want to make sure we're creating a real positive environment for our students. And if you put together these programs to kind of reduce bullying, you're actually creating a better kind of positive school experience environment for our students. So let Tony go through this thing, but I think we can move through it, so.
Thank you, Mr. Vice President. I do get the cue here that I will go fast, but I would just offer that, hearing the numbers doesn't provide a full picture of why we have the numbers, and so I do want to provide a little bit of background that will shed some light on why the numbers exist. And I would also encourage you, we just heard an outstanding presentation from Peg and the high school team about high school learning for the future, and I'd encourage you to listen for some of the interconnection in the themes that you're going to hear here in the bullying report to what they just shared with you. So obviously, bullying is a very important topic nationally. We've all heard stories of tragedies that are correctly or incorrectly attributed to school bullying, but schools continue to be one of the safest places for our students. Yet we still want to continue to work hard to ensure that we're making every effort to provide a safe and secure learning environment, because we know kids learn best when they're feeling safe and secure. Back in 2010, the school board adopted a school bullying prohibition policy, and in that policy there was a definition of bullying, and it was adopted straight from the Department of Public Instruction. So it calls for us to look at the nature of the behavior, that it needs to be intentional and intended to cause fear, intimidation, or harm, and it can occur in a variety of formats, physical, verbal, or indirect. Oftentimes, students will come to their school counselor and through conversations, report that they may be bullying or bullied or that they're feeling bullied. But upon informal investigation and conversation with the counselor, it really turns out that it's more peer conflict. And that's because bullying, more often than not, is unidirectional, that there's a perpetrator and a victim. The reports that our counselors are often getting from students tend to be multi-directional, that there's back and forth that's occurring between the students, and that's more peer conflict. In not all cases, bullying tends to be a repeated behavior over time. It doesn't need to be the same behavior, but similar behaviors that cause significant negative effects for the victim, although some bullying cases can be one single incident. All bullying reports require investigation. The district takes them very, very seriously. We've done a lot of education with our students, so they know the definition of bullying, they know how to identify it, and they know how to report it. They're encouraged to report it. Not only do we do that with our students, but we also do that with our staff. Our staff are mandated by the policy to report suspected bullying. All other people are encouraged to report suspected bullying. Reports can be taken either verbally or in writing. We've adopted a procedure as well as forms to create consistency in our investigation and our reporting procedures. And one of the procedures requires us to notify parents if their student is either the victim, potential victim, or potential bully in a situation. But besides that information, all other private student data remains confidential. We have a lot of bullying prevention efforts in the district, and it's important to point out that taking one issue like bullying and just focusing on that really isn't effective in mitigating the issue. We really need to take a comprehensive, holistic look at any issue in a school in order to enhance school climate. So therefore, our bullying efforts in the district have been very broad. They've supported things like healthy life habits, positive decision-making, building relationships among teachers and students, getting kids engaged, teaching pro-social behavior. And so that's a non-exhaustive list that you see up there on the screen. The bottom line is that we're focused on teaching kids what to do as opposed to what not to do. So here's some data from the elementary level that speaks to our prevention efforts. Students were surveyed in the 4th grade at EP Rock, and you can see that they're reporting that they're really very rarely seen threatening or intimidating behavior. And none of those students are reporting that they're seeing it several times per month. That same grade level at EP Rock is also reporting not seeing name calling or teasing particularly often. And that's one of those behaviors later in elementary level that you might expect to see quite a bit of, but not in our schools. At the secondary level, there's a continuation of the teaching of the pro-social behaviors. We've talked a little bit and heard a little bit about the secondary advisories. At the middle school level, we're implementing positive behavior intervention and supports. This year, we've started with Tier 2 interventions. You just heard the high school team talk about the freshman academy model at the high school, and that's, again, similar to our middle school house concept, but more appropriate for high school learners. It breaks our high school down into smaller learning communities where teachers get to know their students in more meaningful ways and allows for more collaboration between the teachers, so we're able to identify concerns more quickly. As Josh had talked about, 3 heads are better than 1. And so some data to support our prevention efforts at the secondary level. This is high school survey data from last year, and it represents students in grades 9 through 12. And what you'll see is that students are overwhelmingly feeling supported. They feel like they have one adult that they can talk to, that people care about them, that they feel safe, and that the school rules are clear. We do have some work to do with student perceptions around how consistently we're enforcing some of our school rules. So how does all of this relate and impact upon our district numbers related to bullying? This table here shows our total incidents, So those are total behavioral referrals that we've had in the school district, elementary through high school. In the middle row there, you see harassment incidents, and in the bottom row is bullying incidents. And you'll note that we have a not reported for the 2011-12 school year for bullying. That's about the same time that the state came out with their state statute requiring bullying reporting. And at the end of the 2011-12 school year, when we were compiling our data, we recognized that we didn't have a code in our student management system for bullying. So we immediately rectified that and had the bullying code separate for 2012 and 13. And you can see that bullying represents a very small fraction of total disciplinary referrals in our school district. When you consider that we have about 5,500 kids in our schools, that's something like 0.09% of our students are involved in bullying, confirmed cases of bullying. Shown and represented another way, you can see on the very bottom is a red line. It's along the axis there, and that's the bullying incidents. It's almost non-existent. Harassment incidents are very, very small percentage of the total incidents as well. And then there's some other good news. Our total incidents in the district appears to be trending down over the last 3 years. And while it's too early to say whether or not this is a true trend, it seems to be very promising data and reflective of the work that we're doing, our prevention work that we're doing across the district. This just shows the breakdown here between levels, elementary level, middle school level, and high school level of the same data, total incidents, harassment incidents, and then bullying incidents. I know it's difficult to see, but essentially you see that same pattern, that our total incidents for the most part are going down, and bullying and harassment are a very small percentage. One of the required components from the DPI is for us to talk about how do we support and provide consequences when we have a confirmed case of bullying. And I've been involved in a number of these cases. I've also talked with administrators about our past practices. I think we have a strong emphasis on, again, teaching the expectations in a positive and pro-social way. But we also recognize that bullying is a very serious behavior. It's not to be tolerated in our schools, and so we do take strong action that's been up to and including out-of-school suspension. Recommendations going forward really focuses on an increase in consistency in several different areas. First of all, our prevention activities, just alignment between the levels, and then increased consistency in our investigations and reporting, and then again, what we heard in our high school student survey data, the enforcement of behavioral expectations across our levels. So I'll open it up for any questions or comments that you may have.
Mr. President, just interested in your report and very well done. Thinking about when you're regulating this activity or these incidents on the school campuses, things like that. Are these incidents also outside the campus? I mean, are you hearing about that? Is it sometimes we don't have control over, on school property, off school property like we do on school property. I'm just wondering if you've had any occurrences of that or understanding.
Yes, that's a very good question, Tom. And we do often get reports that things are happening in the community, and this tends to be one of the challenges in our investigation process. We need to establish that there's some nexus or connection into the school environment, that it's creating a disruption or that it's come into the school environment in some other way in order for us to sanction it. But we would work with families and encourage them to take appropriate action in their homes and in the community as well.
So would that include then like bus transportation? These incidents would include conduct on the buses?
Yes.
Okay. I grew up in a much smaller school district, and I think there was more than 5 bullying incidents in a month on my bus alone. But
and I know And I know that is a perception, and part of the challenge is around the definition of bullying. It really is fairly narrow in scope, and I hope that that's a takeaway for us this evening, that there is a specific definition of bullying.
So it basically takes harassment to another level? Is that what the bullying is?
The harassment needs to be based on some protected class, and so that would be a difference between the two.
Okay. All right, any other questions?
Yes,
Thank you,
Mr.
Tony.
President.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Karen.
Particularly with the definition of bullying perhaps being so narrow, I think it's important to note that the reported and substantiated incidents are only 5. Going back to the survey, on staff members care about me, 1 in 4 feel that they don't. Nearly 1 in 5 say that there's not one adult they can speak to, and nearly 1 in 5 don't feel safe at school. So I think it can be so subtle that it may not be reported quite often.
And that is possible, and we want people to feel empowered to bring any concern forward. We will investigate it and look into it, and we recognize that some students don't feel safe at school and don't feel connected, and all of our staff are doing a lot of work to engage those students to build relationships, but there isn't necessarily a direct connection for every student that may not feel safe or may not have one trusted adult to talk to. That doesn't necessarily mean that they've been bullied.
Very good. Anyone else then have questions? All right, thanks, Tony.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda is the board committee memberships and meeting schedule. And again, I think most of you have received your assignments. My thing just skipped ahead. All right. I don't know if I need to go through these, but primarily, I think we just go to the meeting schedule, because that more or less was the primary concern. While it would be great to shake things up and put everybody on new committees, one of the driving forces is scheduling, and the way we left it was to try and put folks who, harder to make 2-night meetings, have them on the same night. So that's why the people that are on learning program development are basically also on finance. And when it comes to personnel and facilities and ground, we have some overlap there. I'm on just one committee, Carrie's on just one committee. It's just the way the numbers work out. And but it so happens that we're probably the most available for substitution as well. So I would anticipate that there's going to be opportunity with the traveling that some of our members do. So I think between that, we have a lot of consistency and experience on these committees as well. And with so much that's going on in the district, I thought that was also important to keep that consistency as opposed to shaking things up and putting people on unfamiliar committees. So we have our annual calendar, and we're trying to hit a work schedule or work session, which we have one this month on June 26th, and pretty much one a month except for Christmas time period. Any questions about that? All right. Diane, do we have any requests to speak? None, so that means we don't have to respond to anything with regard to topics for action. Andrea, you have the first item for action, which is the open enrollment applications out of district.
Yes, thank you, Mr. President. As you know, pursuant to statute as well as adopted board policy, we not only have to approve the open enrollments coming in, but then the board action is required for open enrollment applications out of the district. For the purposes of the 2014-15 school year, we've had 51 applications out of the district. We are recommending approval of all but one. Number 36, we recommend denial, and that's pursuant to analysis and recommendation of our Student Services Director, Tony Meyer.
Okay. Do you need a motion then? Or is that,
yes,
is there
we would need
questions about any of these applications?
Yeah, I just have a general question. Can you talk to any of the statistics in terms of previous data, what we have from previous years?
Yes, I
It's a fun
can.
topic for me, so.
No, I certainly understand, and I do have some information. Since 2009-10, our average applications out for purposes of open enrollment is 48. Last year, there was 46 applications. This year, there's 51. Or, I'm sorry, last year was 56. This year is 51. Another important point in this is that although there's all those applications that were approved, for example, last year, the 56, 32 ultimately elected to attend another school, 24 did not. They stayed with the district.
Okay.
So similarly, when you have open enrollment applications in, not all elect to attend us as well.
Good.
Is that last year's similar to the prior years? Is basically 60% of the people who apply actually go out of district?
It varies from year to year, ranging probably, 15 of 50 that attend another school to the 32 was at the high at both 2009-10 and then 13-14 as well.
And
Thank you.
similar to, Bruce, did you have questions?
I was going to say thank you. Appreciate the additional data.
Mr. President,
Len.
I just have a question on the header of this spreadsheet, Andrea. It says 2013-14 open enrollment students out of Hudson as of 4/30/13. I just want to confirm we are talking about
This is for the 2014-15. Yes.
as of 4/30/14.
Correct, yes.
Okay.
Thank
So-
you for that.
So this is providing information as to where they attended this last school year.
No, this is a recommendation for approval for the following school year. So the header should be corrected to reflect 2014-15 open enrollment students out of Hudson as of 4/30/14. So I apologize for that error.
Mr. President?
Yes.
Andrea, I just have one clarification. In the column that's 2013-14 district school attending, it looks like some of these out people they've already been out for 2014, so really, when I counted them up, there's only 17 new ones that are asking to be out for this coming year.
Sure, and I didn't count them specifically, but I'm sure that's a
Am I
common
reading it right?
practice.
Is that what I'm reading here?
I believe so, where if they've moved from
Right.
Somerset to here, that they may want to continue to be at Somerset.
Okay, I thought so. I just wanted to clarify that I was looking at this correctly and getting it in my head that
Yes,
these
their
are the
current
51,
attendance.
but only 17 new ones this year. I counted them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, dear. Thank you.
Mr. President,
Yes,
I move
Tom.
the approval of the administrator's recommendation for the 51 students less the 36th student. Oops, hang on a second. Here we go. I move to approve the applications of students numbers 1 through 35 and 37 through 51 for open enrollment out of the Hudson School District, with the exception of student number 17, who is approved to attend McFarland or Northern Osaki virtual schools, but not Appleton Virtual School due to estimated costs. And it probably should be noted that there's a correction on the heading to 2014-15.
Second, the motion.
It's been moved in second. Is there any further discussion on the motion to approve those, I guess it's 50 applications? Hearing none, then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, and the motion is approved. We have one remaining application that needs a motion.
I move to deny the application of the student number 36 due to not receiving the special education estimated cost from Waukesha Virtual School.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to deny the one application for the reasons stated. Is there any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion is approved. Next, we have a resolution to, and some explanation, I think, but in the end, it sounds like it's going to be good news. So Lynn, you're our treasurer. You want to introduce this?
Sure. Thank you, Mr. President. Board members, as you may recall from the May board meeting and the committee report at the last meeting, I reported to you that we would be considering at this meeting an opportunity to refinance higher interest rate bonds with an estimated savings of approximately $500,000 over the term of the bond to the district. Tim, are you going to talk first, or are we turning it over directly to Brian, or where do you want to take it?
Yeah, I'll talk a little bit first. The first thing I just want to update on the actual wording of that resolution, because it mentioned 6.2 million. As the numbers came in yesterday, it's actually 6,190,000, so it's a little bit less as those numbers came in. Again, good news when we look at the refunding. It's technically called refunding of bonds, but we all know it as refinancing in simpler terms. And Brian and I did a ratings call with Moody's last week, and it was very favorable. We maintained our AA1 rating. As we've talked about before, the metrics in that rating really, to get up to the highest rating, we'd have to have a larger tax base. And that's really the indication that we were hearing from Moody's in that call, is that we're doing all of the things right that we need to for the strong financial management of the district, but it's, tax base is pretty much beyond our control. We haven't figured out how to nail that one yet. But essentially, we'd be refinancing, the bonds that would be refinanced are moving from an average of about 3.6%, 3.8%, and going down to an average of 1.6%. And with that, I'll introduce Brian Brewer, as many of you have met and worked with before on bond refinancing and bond issues, as a managing director of Baird. So I'll let Brian take it from there.
Thank you, Tim. Good evening. Good to see everyone again. In your packet, I provided a short summary of the current market environment. Interest rates on that first slide. It shows a daily municipal bond index going back the past 30 years to give you some perspective on truly how low interest rates have been in the last 5 years. During that time, the district leadership team and many on this current board and prior boards have taken advantage of that low interest rate environment to refinance prior debt issues to lower interest cost. And tonight is no different. So we'll discuss this latest financing, but since 2008, the financings that the district have accomplished have exceeded $2 million of interest cost reduction or avoidance during this low interest rate period. So that was recognized by Moody's, that the active fiscal management of the district is a strong point in the credit report. And again, those are things that are within your control, and that shined through during the rating conversation. On page 3 of the booklet, again, Tim highlighted that the debt issue that we are looking to refinance tonight is the 2004 bond issue that had existing interest rates of 3.8%. And that issue was a refinancing itself back in 2004 of a 1999 bond issue and a 2002 bond issue. So this is a refinancing of a refinancing. When we locked in that 3.8 back in 2004, it seemed unlikely that we would be able to refinance it again, but here we are in 2014 and refinancing it to interest rates that currently average, the final rate is a 1.57% interest rate on the remaining 7 years. You have an estimated timetable there, and on the final page you have a summary of the final statistics. As Tim mentioned, the final size of the issue dropped to $6,190,000. The maturity range from 2017 until 2021. This will be the last time this series of bonds can be refinanced. The AA1 credit rating resulted in investor demand that led to the final interest rate of a 1.57. And you see there at the bottom, the total interest cost savings over that 7-year period is $551,000. And when you discount that back into today's present value dollars, that's savings of $523,000. Or if you look at it as a return on the refinancing, it's 8.3% savings on the amount that you're refinancing. So very significant interest cost avoidance on the remaining 7 years of debt payments related to the 2004 bond issue.
Excellent. Any questions for Brian? All right, so I see that we have a resolution, but it's quite lengthy, and do we need to read the entire thing? Or we just ask for passage of the resolution with, do we have a blank that needs to be filled in somewhere?
We have now on the resolution, we filled in several of the blanks since the final numbers came in on Monday. There are still other blanks in this that will be completed that are either exhibits, for example, or they'll be completed after. So this has been reviewed. But if you, I think if you read the title of that resolution at the top, that's normally what we've done.
Okay.
Mr. President?
Yes.
I move to approve a resolution authorizing the issuance and awarding the sale of $6,190,000 general obligation refunding bonds, providing the form of the bonds, and levying a tax in connection therewith.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, motion by Lynn, second by Brian. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thank you.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
Thank you, Brian.
Have a good drive back.
Yes, thank you. All right. I think that's the closest to a no-brainer vote that we've had already in my tenure, but all right. Health and dental insurance funny. Lynn, you're up again.
Mr. President, in the essence of time, I'm just going to turn it over to Tim.
Okay. As many of you remember, we moved to a self-funding model for health insurance and dental insurance this year. So we're really getting into our first full year of our numbers and looking at claims data and that type of thing. The first section, I just wanted to give you perspective on where we were prior. And if I went back to 2009-10, you can see the actual expenses for health and dental district incurred. So about 7.9 million. Where we're projecting this year is our budget for 13-14 for those same items is projected to be about 6.675, and we're tracking pretty well to that area. We've been projecting some costs out for the final 2 months of the plan, and it looks like we're tracking in that direction to be pretty close to those numbers. In terms of national medical cost trend, our brokers have looked at that and determined national trend is about 9.3%. When we look at being self-funded, we call it an internal equivalency rate. So that's what we develop here, and really our expenses are, the majority of our expenses are claims. And so at this point, we're proposing an increase of 5% on the health insurance and 2% on the dental. And so if you compare that to medical cost trend, so across the nation, cost is trending at about 9.3%. So 5% is very respectable when you look at that trend. And again, these rates are developed through consultation with our broker and looking at claims data. But that's what we're proposing. If we look at the next page, you can get a sense for where we are, and I won't go through all those lines, but I'm going to concentrate. If you look under the health insurance, and that's Health Partners is a third-party administrator for our self-funded plan. Our total fixed and claim costs are running about 7.3 million, and that would be projected through. So we've got 2 months that are projected through. If we had stayed fully insured, we were looking at about 8.4 million. So if you look at the difference, it's about 1.1 million below where we would have been had we been self-insured. So it's a good year, and things are tracking well. They're on track with where we thought, actually deriving a little higher savings than what we projected when we first looked at this. Same thing with dental. So total fixed costs and claims are $549, and had we stayed fully insured under dental, that premium would have been $618. So savings of about almost $70,000 there. And these costs, I just want to emphasize too, these costs are all-in costs, so they don't reflect the reduction of costs that the employees, the withholding that the portion that the employees paying. But tracking really well, and we think the proposed increase is very favorable when we compared to medical trend. So we'd like to move forward with those increases for July 1.
Is there a motion?
Mr. President, question?
Yes.
Tim, thanks for that. I think it's great that we became self-insured, certainly saving some money and providing a good, good program for our employees. Just a couple of questions. What percentage of the healthcare costs is borne by the member or employee?
Right now, it's 12.6, and in previous years, over the past few years, that's gone up to 12.6 from about 5%. It was actually around 5%.
How about dental?
Prior to that. Dental, and I should mention too, if you're a part-time employee, part-time people are prorated, so they actually pay more than that, and we have a number of part-time people in the district. Dental, if you're full-time, that's paid for, and that has about a $2,000 benefit cap on it for dental.
Okay, so, and maybe a question, Andrea, but as we look at pay and compensation, we've been looking at Minnesota because it seemed to have higher pay. Do you know what the average is in Minnesota for benefits?
I don't know off the top of my head, but that's certainly something.
So this is much different than industry standard, right? I don't even have dental insurance in my company, right? So I just think as we're looking at benefits and we're looking at compensation in the future, I really want to consider this as and make sure that we consider this as we're looking at overall compensation for our employees. So.
I certainly know I can speak to the fact that as I'm making employment offers, that it is a selling point, our benefit package.
Yeah. So I just want to make sure that if it is a selling point, that we put this all together in a holistic, the medical, healthcare, compensation, professional development time. It's all a package, and we have to represent the whole package. So, anyway, so just a thought in the future. Also, the 5% increase, is that 5% is also that shared with the member or our employee?
Yes, yeah, the employees are picking up 5% as well as the district.
Okay.
Mr. President, just a question regarding, is the coverage the same? Is it comparable, or has there been any changes to the deductible as a result of this proposal?
We've maintained coverage. We've taken steps to try and, as Brian says, looking at total compensation, we've had a number of changes over the years, with employees paying half of their retirement, so that was approximately a 6% reduction in pay. We don't have automatic step increases anymore for teachers. But so we're trying to balance that, but we continue, and we'll continue to look at health insurance and look at areas to improve it and tweak it and change it. But again, in looking at total rewards or total compensation package to remain competitive.
Okay.
Mr. President?
Yeah, Bruce.
When we've met on this not long ago, we still had a couple of months that were outstanding. Did you get some additional information that allows you to be much more comfortable with the numbers?
I would say we don't have any additional information. We won't know that until the end of July, most likely. We've got something called incurred but not reported claims, and there's a little bit of a lag time until we get our final numbers.
Okay.
Any other questions then? Okay.
Mr. President, I move approval of the health insurance increase at 5% and the dental insurance increase of 2% as proposed and recommended by the administration.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded for approval. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? The motion passes. Next up on our topics for action, I guess my name's next to that, but this is regarding teacher handbook. We discussed this at personnel, and I was substituting for that, so I think that's why. But Andrea, why don't you tell them what we're taking action on here is basically putting some teeth into these contracts so that if teachers were to withdraw from contracts they were committed to, that there would be actually higher liquidated damages, but that it would not take effect for till 2015, 2016 teacher contracts.
Yes, thank you. During the course of this past year, there have been multiple resignations during the course of the contract year, and so we've been looking at ways that we can address that. So to minimize that impact, because certainly a mid-year term resignation of a teacher has an impact, a negative impact on students, and it is often difficult, very difficult to fill, especially in high needs areas. And so we have 3 components to the recommendation. A quick note is that this was first a conversation with the Teacher Advisory Committee. Teacher Advisory Committee fully supported and actually came up with components, specifically the numbers reflected in this
so the
proposal.
dollar amounts were brought up by the teachers
By
themselves.
the teachers, yes. I gave some comparable data, but then they came forward with the recommendation of these numbers. And then I also presented it to the Personnel Committee, and there was consensus to move it forward to tonight. So that being said, there are 3 components. The first component in Section 1 would be the request to be released. This is common practice in Minnesota, whereby in order to be released mid-contract, we have to, that release is contingent upon the ability of the district to secure an acceptable replacement teacher. That certainly would have helped us as we worked through some difficult situations this year. So we've added that language. That language would become, assuming, well, with your approval, it would be effective with this coming contract. It's also specifically written in the employment contracts for the teachers. Section 2, the specific numbers on the liquidated damages. Currently, there's contract language providing for a $500 penalty if they break their contract. Previously, it hasn't been enforced. We have specifically communicated with teachers and again had the repeated discussions with Teacher Advisory Committee that we will be enforcing this proviso going forward. And then our recommendation is to significantly increase that, again, with consultation with the Teacher Advisory Committee, so that resignations on or between June 16th and June 30th would be $500. Resignation on or between July 1st and July 31st is $750. Resignation on or after August 1st of the contract year is $1,500. We also are asking for additional procedures as part of that. And the liquidated damages is in addition to, again, that request to be released and finding that acceptable replacement teacher. Section 3 does provide for a waiver of liquidated damages by the district at its discretion for extenuating circumstances. Any questions?
So basically, there's a deadline of the teachers to submit their contracts by June 15th.
Yes, and that is a statutory deadline. The district has to issue contracts by May 15th, and then they have to be returned by June 15th.
And so if somebody returns it June 15th, changes their mind the next day, they incur that $500 liquidated damage.
They could be, unless there's extenuating circumstances which would result in a waiver.
Any further questions for Andrea?
Just a question, Andrea. Do you believe that these numbers and this proposal acts as a adequate deterrent to this kind of situation of resignations early?
I'm hopeful. I think, frankly, what will serve the district best is the Section 1 about the request to be released and not allowing that release until there's an adequate replacement or an acceptable replacement identified, especially in the high need or the difficult to find positions.
Sure.
So I'm hoping that's really going to have a positive impact. And the liquidated damages component, they're comparable numbers with other districts.
Okay.
And we felt comfortable, and again, Teacher Advisory Committee felt comfortable that it wasn't, punitive in nature. Instead, it was more of a just a general penalty. And if nothing else, we're hopeful that it will make people, think twice about the significance of a breach of a contract.
Just a follow-up question, if I could, and that is regarding the the comment that this is restricted to, they're under contract unless we, unless we can find an adequate replacement for them. My question is, would we want them?
Depending
I mean,
on the situation.
If they're gone and they're, mentally, or, that type of thing.
And we can always work through that. Certainly, you would never want someone who's not in a productive place to be teaching the students.
Yeah.
But most of the time, people are professional. As we've dealt with situations at the Minnesota school districts, those employees continue to be professionals there before we're able to secure their position in our district. So we would expect
Okay.
the same of ours.
Yeah. I would imagine that they want the next job too, so they need to still perform.
Yes.
Any other questions? But I had a question on the 30-day notice. Does that give you adequate time to find replacements?
It will depend. Certainly, anytime we have a resignation in August, it's incredibly difficult, or any mid-year resignation is very difficult to fill within those 30 days. But we're trying to, the 30-day notice is a requirement, yet we also can continue to hold them until we find that acceptable replacement. So some positions are more easily filled. It's kind of that minimum threshold.
All right. Very good. Do I have a motion then?
Mr. President, move to approve.
Second.
Okay, motion by Brian, second by Lynn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, the motion passes and the teacher handbook is amended for liquidated damages on the contracts. Now, next up on the agenda are the consent items. And prior to entertaining a motion, I want to remind members that because of the time of the year and the fact that we have a lot of hiring going on and we want to get these contracts signed. So I think the initial board books were available on Friday, and even since Friday there's been some additional recruitment and hopeful signings. So we have some names that have been manually, they should be in front of each of you. They're highlighted in yellow.
Yes, they should be in front of all of you, the accurate board information.
On that part alone, is there any questions with regard to those personnel changes? All right, not seeing any, then I would entertain the motion for approval of all consent items using the specific language on the expenditures.
Mr. President, I move to approve the consent items and the Director of Financial Services be allowed to pay bills in the amount of $1,966,654.37.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded then to approve the consent items with the spending listed by Lynn. Any further discussion? Then hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, consent items are approved. On to committee reports, and Lynn is up first with Finance Committee.
Thank you, Mr. President. The second item on the agenda for the committee was covered earlier in the meeting, so the only item I have to report on was on the ancillary services for co-located mental health. And as Tony Mayer reported in our meeting, student mental health is a growing concern for schools, and studies have found that approximately 20% of students and adolescents experience mental health issues. Through a partnership with the Hudson Hospital Foundation, and their board has yet to vote on it, as I understand. Tony can correct me if I'm wrong, but they're waiting for the results of this board's vote.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So as part of that partnership, there's a potential opportunity for the Hudson School District to develop a tertiary level of mental health services. This third tier of support would be delivered through a co-located mental health service that would be established through an RFP process and funded through an 18-month grant. The committee supported this recommendation and asked for the results to be reviewed at the end of the grant period to determine its viability. Did I miss anything? Tony, you grabbed your mic.
No, that was really good, Lynn.
That ends my report, Mr. President.
All right. Any questions on Finance Committee? Hearing none, moving on to Learning and Program Development. Brian, I'm sure, has a lengthy report.
We met on 2 June. The only thing we haven't covered yet was the pre-expulsion, expulsion report, which we continue to do a really impressive job there. It's good to see it continuing after the work of Nancy on that and the work now that Tony and team have done on this. So just a little interesting though, we've had 14 pre-expulsions this year. It was interesting, and with 2 expelled, which is always too much, you know, but the year prior was 37 pre-expulsions and 7 expulsions, and 2 years ago was 47 pre-expulsions. So it was interesting, it's like almost 1/3. So we did have a conversation, are we still the same level of scrutiny, and and then there's a little bit of change in how we're looking at making sure that we provide an environment of success for people that maybe have been had a challenge and they come back, and so kind of just an interesting kind of data point. But the program continues to, we all think, being in learning program development very strong. So, and then other than that, everything else was already talked about. So.
Okay, very good. Now, I noticed on the policy and procedure revisions, we had one of those in our consent agenda. The others are not ready yet for full board action? Or? All right, very good. And then on personnel, again, I was filling in for Tom. I think we've covered the amount. We certainly did the self-funding and the rate increase. It's already been approved. The teacher handbook and the contract liquidated damages was approved. We had, we did look at the kindergarten and through grade 5 section projections and staffing. Again, this is a snapshot taken now. We still have more changes that come over the summer. I think that we were looking at reduction of possibly to 1 section at Holton at 1 grade level, but otherwise maintaining our sections for the most part and trying to stay within the guidelines for classroom sizes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then finally, we were going to propose some revisions to the vacation section, but we're going to delay that to a future meeting. That concludes the personnel report. Any questions? Okay. With that, then, I would entertain a motion to adjourn to closed session.
Mr. President, I move to adjourn to closed session pursuant to Wisconsin Statutes 19.85, Parent 1, Parent E, to deliberate for negotiating the purchase or sale of property.
Is there a second? Okay,
Second.
Lynn got the second in just before Brian. All right. Well, this requires a roll call vote. Start with Sandy.
Berkey, aye.
Holland, aye.
Robson, aye.
Bell, aye.
Johnson, aye.
Whitaker, aye.
Hanson, aye.
Then we are moving to closed session, and I would ask the members to join me in a presentation on our way to closed session.